Thank you, Marcelo, and thank you very much, all of you, for accepting our invitation. And I'm delighted to be part of this conversation as well. I'm learning a lot. I would like to share my screen. Just give me a second, and then. Okay. So. What I would like to do, I mean, a bit feeling embarrassed to talk in front of these respective economists, but I would like to provide a framework from an ethical perspective, from a theological perspective, particularly about the tension that Sister Helen was talking about, because the title of this seminar is economic, the one what we discussed with Stefano quite a lot about the title, but economic growth versus interhuman development. And I want to explain this tension and ask you some questions at the end, hopefully, because the tension comes from this. I mean, economic growth, of course, is a material increase on time that we expect not to stop at all. But this is, if we look about the interhuman development, which is a more holistic approach, it's not restricted to economic growth, it's for all people, not just for a few. Now we have a problem. It's just about the whole human person and not about our material dimensions, as Sister Helen was mentioning today, and Sabina mentioned yesterday as well. An integral perspective of development offers, or should offer, feasible models of social integration that does not foment inequality, as Professor Stiglitz was mentioning, because otherwise we don't call it development. That was the contribution of Pope Paul VI. And interhuman development comprises the care of, for the environment, of course. As Jeff mentioned yesterday in the discussion, it is not just, we cannot consider nature as a natural resource for material growth, or even jobs as human resources for industrial production or whatever production we have now. There's a wider scope there, but how to measure it, that's a problem. How to address it, that's also a challenge. And interhuman development, at the end of the day, is the path for peace among people, not another cause for violence and destruction, with mere material growth leads us to that. And also interhuman development is the path of good that the human family is called for, or the common good, as Mariana was mentioning yesterday. So as you can see, there's a lot of tension on that. Almost they're not, I mean, I'm not sure they're compatible. So what do we do if the entire economy is based on material growth and as the goal, or as the aim, as the measurement, and interhuman development? No, can we talk about that or not? So I would like to take some of Jeff's talks on last year. We had another seminar last year in the Casina, and also Kate Roworth, that I invited her, but she couldn't be here today. So how we started this 21st century, no? Because this tension, am I inventing it or what? Or is that theoretical? Look at how we started this 21st century. And I'm borrowing this from Jeffrey Sachs and a little bit, because we started with a financial meltdown, in everywhere, an increase of a climate breakdown, and now a COVID lockdown and COVID is still here to remain, as some of you mentioned, Gustavo mentioned also. So, but this is despite the fact that we have had an increase in economic growth. So this is the question of the seminar. How do we cope with this? But I would like, as Marcelo and Christoph mentioned, I would like to bring, well, I think there might be hope with you, of course. And quoting Pope Francis, Fratelli Tutti, his last encyclical, I would like to dream together, not in isolation, not myself or my team. I would like to dream together to you and with others as a single human family. And I would like to dream in a biblical sense, not to dream and to act, not as a wish. To dream that we can offer that real economics, not speculative economics, real economics can foster inclusive growth. I would like I would like to dream that we can be a fellow travelers with the same flesh. So economics can force work and care. This is the kind of motto of the ILO now, no? Work is care, care is work, no? I would like to dream about that. How can we create jobs that are caring for the environment and for people? And I would like to dream together, how can we be children of the same earth? So economics can generate or regenerate growth that is sustainable. Now, I'm not sure that we can perform this, but especially if I listen to point 21 of the Fratelli Tutti, look at what Pope Francis says. He says some economic rules have proved effective for growth, but not for integral human development. This is quoting Paul VI. Wealth has increased, but together with inequality, Joseph was mentioned that, no? With the result that new forms of poverty are emerging. Almost everybody said that. They claim that the modern world has reduced poverty is made by measuring poverty with criteria from the past that do not correspond to present day realities. And he mentions the example of access to electric energy, but we can mention the examples of Christoph that, no, that he was even more accurate. So why I have hope with economists like you? Because, well, Amartya Sen normally used to teach that, no? Maybe Sabina can correct me because she's one of the best disciples of Sen, but that economics has been always in tension between ethics and mathematics or engineer, no? And the origin of economics is with Aristotle, it was put in as a way to create wealth, but with human ends, to particular goals. But at the same time in India, where there was the creation of wealth with engineering power or in mathematic use. And good economics has always been able to keep the tension, whereas neoliberalism, it hasn't. So now we are in problems because now we are kind of in the dictatorship of the engineering mathematical side. And now we want to bring ethics, but we can't because the model is not allowing us to do. That's something that Jeff and Robert also keep telling us. And now we have all these new indicators, but how can they become mainstream? That was Sabina's question. Well, we have also other economists that are not present that have the same question, but I will skip that. But in a way, I would like, how can we help economics to keep this tension between the mathematical, engineering, design, and the ethical in order to change it? I mean, to change it upside down. And there are 2 points. One is the relationship with politics that Pope Francis is always emphasizing. Economics should serve politics. It's at the service of the polis and not the other way around. And Gustavo mentioned yesterday very, very explicitly and that this regeneration of political economics or economic politics. But we have a problem now that neoliberalism is running out of ideas and is running out of the conception of the human being as not as individualism, that is a virus. Individualism is a virus, as Pope Francis says. And also, so we are running with models that are based on assumptions that are not true, and we don't know how to tell people, well, actually, they are not true. On the other hand, we have the rise of populism. That is so if neoliberalism is the manipulation and I would say the destruction, the corruption of freedom, of liberty, populism is the manipulation, the destruction of the popular, of the social notion of the person. But is there any way? I don't know. I wouldn't want to call it an immediate way because it has to be a new one. And that's why maybe Luigino Bruni can tell us something later on about the economy of Francesco, this movement to generate something new, as most of you are doing, but also with the new generations, but in linking with politics. Now, the second point I want to point out is that there are some roots of the crisis, interconnected crisis, no? That if we, in my opinion, I don't know, it's a question. I think that if we don't address these roots, we can have the as much measurements as we want, but we will never get there to the common good, to a different inclusive economy, a sustainable world. And there are many, many roots, but I will synthesize in 3. One is the extractivist and technocratic mentality. So we extract from the earth, from people, from jobs, no? And when things when we get to tipping points, well, then we think that we are techno-fix, we will fix it. But this is linked with you have on the right side of the screen. This is linked to we extract in order to produce and consume more, and we create a throwaway and consumerist culture. So we have an economy that is based on an extractivist mentality with a techno-fix mentality and a throwaway and consumerist culture. Now, this is beyond mathematics and even beyond ethics. This is about culture, it's about politics, about structures. So, and on top of that, this is linked with a globalization of indifference. We don't feel the pain of what we are doing. And for me, if we don't address this crisis, this is what, from our side, not from a technical side, we can help. So how can we help? We like to play with a bit with words, no? With the appreciation, no? The aprecio in Spanish, no? There is a price that, or a value, you know, that if we don't appreciate the value of human beings, of the environment, of nature, it's very difficult to conceive them just as as ends in themselves. We will still consider them as means. So how can we shift from depreciation to appreciation? And I want to agree very strongly with what Jeff said in the discussion yesterday with the Sustainable Development Goals. I know that the goals are many. I know that the implementation is difficult. I know that the system is of measuring, but from a person that is not an expert, we have the 5 P's of the agenda of the 2030 agenda that is easy to comprehend, and maybe we can design all those things from there. No, we have people for a sustainable development or inclusive economics, or just we have people. We want to end poverty and hunger in all forms and ensure dignity and equality of human rights and all the rest. But we want to create prosperity that ensures prosperous and fulfilling lives in harmony with nature. This we need to do it in new partnership models, respecting the planet, and this will create peace, a sustainable peace, and not the absence of conflicts. What can we do but this cannot be done only by economics. And this is what Fratelli Tutti says at the end. Religions can help promote a universal solidarity, because we sometimes promote, we don't promote peace, we don't promote prosperity in this sense. And to create or to foster a culture of care and service and not a culture of extraction and throw away. This is something that we can contribute in order to help the economies to resign the new models and the new measurements. For the growth of the common good, no? How to regenerate the economy by design. How do you measure this? I have no idea. You are working a lot of different instruments that you can help me out to explain it better. How do you measure our commonality? I agree with Sister Helen, our social dimension of the person. And how do you want beyond the mathematical or engineer mechanical equilibrium to a more comprehensive equilibrium? These are the questions that we need to put to the economists. And I will finish with 2 slides that are very keen to, or very close to Pope Francis' hearts. And we designed these 3 words with Marcelo long time ago. So that's why I wanted to close with this. No? The tierra, techo y trabajo for the first social movement. I remember the first time we throw them here. Tierra, techo y trabajo, that in English I would call, well, land, livelihood, and labor, or 3 L's, 3 T's. We look at what we have now. How do we change this kind of livelihoods, the massive unemployment that we're having now, the desertification, or the problem of food that Maximo Terrero was talking about? How can we change this into take the land, working with the land, no, with the land that is, with the energy that's coming from heaven, that we have it every day, the sun, the wind, and not the energy that is coming from Sheol. Sheol in the Bible is the place of the dead, that is underneath the earth. So we see that all the economic is based upon extracting the place, the energy that comes from the dead. And we want to to change and produce an economy or create an economy that is based on energy coming from God, from heaven. No, and how can we change also this innovation and the importance of technology that Christoph and Gustavo were mentioning into urbanization? Because urbanization is key. And look at there are lots of things that we can do if we mainstream it. And how can we speed up the process with finance as an accelerating means for caring? No? So I don't know how to do that. I just want to put the questions and the framework of the tension between sustainable development and economic growth, interhuman development, economic growth, and the routes that we need to change if we want to promote new models of development with new measurements that I hope my colleagues will talk more about. Thank you very much.